Hi everyone, in this video we're going to go over web designers. We're going to talk about what they are, what they do, why they're important, and why it's important to know about good web design and why a good website design is important for your business to thrive online. So web design is basically the process of curating a branded website that is attractive, engaging, and user-friendly for your business's target audience. It should also encourage a call to action, as the core goal of a business website is to attract new and existing customers and turn them in new users and turn them into customers. And call to actions are things like, so if you have an e-commerce website, then your main call to action is for people to browse your products and then purchase products. So things like add to cart, go to checkout, buy, these are all forms of call to actions. There's also call to actions to invite users to other parts of your site. So on a portfolio or a blog site, call to actions such as read article, read blog, read now are all call to actions for your website that kind of lead users to explore around your website and eventually invite them to either submit an inquiry or submit a form and things like that. You also have call to actions like get in touch. That's encouraging users to get in contact with us through a form or through email, phone, and things like that. So great web design will give your business essentially another salesperson, and a website should sell 24/7 for your business. And you'll see even minor tweaks, design changes can make an incredible difference. You should think about a new website just like any other investment for your business. And if your website isn't delivering results, it's probably time to think about updating it. So that's the importance of web design, and web designers essentially are people who will design the website for you. It's important to note there's a difference between designers and website development. So website development is essentially the next step after an effective design has been signed off. It's what kind of goes under the hood of the business website. Web developers will then take the design and they will essentially build all your website through coding or through online website building platforms, things like that. As a client, you should know if you were getting a template, page builder, or a custom website development for you, and you should know the difference between each of these, the pros and cons, why you have selected the website development that you have. The website should be created to ensure that you get a stable and secure and accessible website at all times, and one that will be really easy to manage, low maintenance, and reliably deliver for your business when you invest in digital marketing. So that falls under website development, and web designers will then focus on the actual look of your website, the design, colors, everything like that. That will be decided by your website designer, who you will then sort of sit with, and you can talk to them about how you want the design, basic sort of overall look of your website, and they'll be able to talk you through essentially what would be good in terms of website design. Does it fall under good user experience? Does it fall under good SEO standards as well? So it's really important that when you are thinking about hiring a web designer, you know how important it is to have good web design. You also know what kind of questions to ask them whenever you are hiring them. It is really important that your business pays attention to web design and web designers. There are currently around 5 billion internet users worldwide, and that's a really big audience, which also means there's a lot of competition from other businesses when trying to stand out in the online space. Your website designer needs to design your website in such a way that it's useful, informative, and engaging for your audiences. It should showcase your product or service in the best way possible and convey your brand to audiences. The message of a business or a brand can be effectively communicated through smart web design by your web designer, and it should incorporate sort of engaging text, imagery, and video content. If your website is lacking in design, it won't get very many visitors, which means less traffic and a reduced amount of potential sales. So having an established online website that users can visit may help your business, will help your business in lots of different ways. So when it comes to web design, most people opt to hire out agencies or independent web designers to help them with that. A web designer designs websites, and they are essentially responsible for what's known as the front end of a website. So what you're seeing now, this part of the website, this is essentially what the users can see, and it's essentially the front end of the website. A web designer are responsible for things like the color, text, imagery, videos, the overall layout, the navigation, and overall appearance of your website's business. your business's website. And again, that's different to a web developer who's concerned with the website's backend. That's things like the coding, the security, and the overall functionality. Web designers and web developers will collaborate together often to create this engaging and easily navigated and attractive website. They're different, but they're very important to the process, and each requires a different set of skills. Web designers can create bespoke websites that portray your brand in the best possible way. And web design companies are essentially responsible for the success of the project, but they will also have an impact on the future of your business. So therefore, it's important that you don't take the process of hiring a web designer lightly. You should view a web designer or a web design firm as one of your marketing partners. The web designer that you choose to work with will design your website. They will play a major role in your company's success regarding your online marketing goals and objectives and any sales that you want to make. Whether you're having a new website designed from scratch or having major changes made to your existing website, your hiring decision will determine the website's success. As you probably know, there are many different web design companies out there. There's many different web designers out there. Whether you're searching for a web design firm online or locally, it's really easy to become sort of overwhelmed with the task of choosing the right firm for your business. If you want to make the right choice, it's important that they have a thorough hiring process. You should treat the process of choosing a web design company the same as the process of hiring an employee. Therefore, you should conduct interviews, request portfolios, check references, review the performance results of different web design companies, and things like that. Especially when it comes to hiring web designers. So web designers should have a range of work that they should be able to show you that they've worked on previously, a portfolio of work. They should be able to show you previous work from other clients that they've done and explain why they've used the colors that they did, used the layouts that they did, and how that has affected the company, how has that resulted in either more clicks on their website, more sales, more engagement on their website, and things like that. Web designers are really important to the business, and they essentially marry creativity and technology together to create beautiful designs on web pages. There are essential skills that every web designer should know about and understand to ensure that they are producing great work. Not only are technical skills important, being able to understand collaboration methods and having strong communication skills also matter. Designing for clients means conversing with them to understand their needs and their visions for their site. And there's lots of different skills that are needed to help you grow as a web designer and develop stronger visuals and content as well. One of the main things as a web designer you'll need to know is that you'll need to sort of understand design principle. Without understanding design principles, it will be difficult to build and create unique and beautiful websites. Learning fundamental skills of visual design can enhance your abilities and offer important foundations for web and graphic knowledge. Principles like emergence help us focus on the website as a whole rather than honing in on individual parts. Emergence helps us process an arrangement of visual elements and help us digest what they mean together. Using rectification strips, rectification strips back complexities and helps us recognize the essential parts of something that allow us to recognize it. This helps designers work out what's necessary for a website and what can be laid out for a user that still conveys meaning. Another important principle is the invariance. So invariance ensures that an object stands out in your design, and this teaches us how to highlight particular parts that you want to encourage your user to see. So understanding design principles sort of enhances your graphics and web knowledge as well. Another key element to think about whenever you are designing a website, and that website designers should be thinking about as well, is user experience or UX. User experience is, in essence, how someone responds or reacts to your design, and this is based on how easy the site is to use. Interactive elements that are incorporated into design that make it a dynamic piece for users to enjoy helps with good web design, and UX is a really important skill to learn as it helps users navigate through sites in a really enjoyable way. UX involves creating organized content spaces that are uncluttered and have negative space, and that's usually a good starting point for any website. Designing a site with empathy rather than focusing on the technical aspects can also attract users to remain on sites. Understanding what the user needs and providing it in the design is a really important part of the UX. If a site is too cluttered, if it's too much information that's not being broken up properly, if the navigation is too dense, and in general not an easy user experience, users will click off, and that will then that's something that Google could pick up on. So Google will track how long someone's session time is. So essentially how long someone, from the moment that they click onto your site to the moment that they click off, is essentially a session. And Google will track how long that session is. And the longer that is, the better, because it allows Google to know that there's engaging content on there. The content on there is easy for users to read about and essentially use your website. So that's a really good indication to Google whether or not the UX is good for customers or not. And the better that is, the higher you'll rank in search engines. It also just means then when users are on your site, they can find what they need as easily as possible, instead of having to click into several different things and maybe find what they're looking for, especially if they're clicking into something expecting to find one bit of content, but actually they find something completely different. So it's really important that the UX of your site is optimized as much as possible for the user. It's organized, it's uncluttered, and it's spaced out as easy as possible for users to navigate through. So that was UX. Then there's also something called UI, and that stands for user interface. UX focuses on the user, but UI is specifically for the site. User interface hones in on things like menus, web pages, and buttons. This is everything that allows a user to navigate through a website without there being any obstructions. Typography and things like that helps designers choose pleasing fonts that aren't like jarring or anything like that. Other skills that designers would need to know is skill in software, so using different types of software in design. So having a breadth of knowledge surrounding software can make every web designer's life easier. Knowing programming language as well can help, but having a base knowledge of things like Figma, Webflow can help you build sites faster and a lot easier. Understanding basic photo editing is as important, as a lot of the time web designers work with vector-based graphics, so knowing programs like Adobe programs like Illustrator, Photoshop, and Lightroom, and InDesign can help you with your skill set as well. Photoshop, for example, can help you create really beautiful images and also edit images really easily as well. And these are all types of different images that you can use on your website to help make it more engaging and more meaningful to the user. When it comes to actually designing your web design, a really popular program to use is Figma. So Figma is a powerful web design tool that helps you create anything from websites, application, logos, and a lot more. And a lot of web designers will use it to design their website, to design a website in full. It's a collaborative tool, meaning that other members in your team can join your project and collaborate with you as well. Obviously, there is some pricing towards it as well, but it just means then you have a software where you can essentially build out the design of your website, share that design with customers, and they can see exactly what their site will look like once it's in development. And it also means it's an easy way for developers to also see what the site is meant to look like, get things like the CSS tools, any like CSS of all of the styling of the fonts and things like that. They can see exactly what's being used. It's a good design team basically for building out your website and any other kind of applications that you want to bring as well. Another really popular web design tool is Webflow. So Webflow is almost like a visual way to code. It's essentially a built-in publishing and hosting platforms. That means essentially you can go from zero to design to a published website in a fraction of a time that it would take when you're coding by hand. Once you've built your website designed visually, you can hit publish and push your site live. This can help web designers in several ways. One of the important ways is essentially the bridge between visual design and coding. So visual designers can create sort of mock-ups, prototypes, in a visual tool like Adobe Photoshop. But then they will then send them off to developers who will then code them. It creates sort of an extra round of back and forth, since developers have to go through an extra iteration of coding, maybe go back and forth with designers when something doesn't work out or something needs to be changed. And it means that it can be hard to code sort of complex interactions, especially when you're in a limited amount of time as well. So this is kind of where Webflow comes in. So Webflow is an in-browser design tool, and it gives you the ability to design and launch responsive websites visually. It's basically almost like an all-in-one design platform that you can go from the initial idea to a ready-to-use product. When it comes to Webflow, what's different from that to something like Figma is that when you create the design in the visual editor, it's powered by HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So design and code are not separated, and you can reuse CSS classes. So once you define each CSS class, you can use them for any elements that should have the same styling, or use it as a starting point for variation. And because it's a platform, it also offers a hosting plan as well. So around, even from something as basic as $14 a month, it allows you to connect a custom domain, host your HTML site, and for an additional amount of money, you can use the Webflow CMS and actually have space to kind of manage a website as well. There can be a learning curve to it. However, once you have the basics down, it's very easy to kind of start building out your site, designing your site, but then also while you're designing, the site is being coded out for you, and essentially it removes that kind of extra block of coding that's needed whenever you are using traditional web design tools like Photoshop or Figma. So that's just another tool that web designers can use as well. So having this base knowledge of kind of design software can ensure that your design have fluency, and it also makes your life a little bit easier whenever you are designing a website, or when your web designer is designing your website as well. If you want to be truly successful as a web designer, then knowledge of graphic design is crucial. Graphic design is essentially when you create visuals with longevity. So designing branding for websites that incorporate logos, vector-based graphics such as this, that are essentially unique to you and that you own, can add a lot of sort of interactions with users. It's something that users can engage with, they can admire. Deepening your knowledge of graphics is critical if you want to become a successful designer. Creating custom illustration and graphics and hand-drawn typography are just some ways that you can grow in graphic design and become a truly accomplished web designer as well. As well as graphic design, you want to think about something called color theory. So color theory is another way to establish your brand identity. Color schemes and color theory essentially plays an important role in every project, from printing promotional flyers, creating your brand's logo, establishing your brand identity, and essentially your website color schemes. By using different colors, you are sort of able to convey different emotions, drive conversions, and also earn loyalty for your customers. When your designer is essentially designing your website, choosing the correct colors and putting them in the correct places can be a difficult task, but it is very important to find the correct colors to convey your brand, and balancing the primary and secondary colors as well. Some basic tips on whenever you are deciding on branding and deciding on a color scheme can be things like using the color wheel as well. So the easiest way to pick out a color scheme for your brand is to utilize the color wheel. The color wheel is made up of 12 colors, which make up the subsets of primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. And by understanding this kind of color wheel, you can create color schemes that work together and will look great on your website. So primary colors are the basis of the color wheel. These are colors that are found naturally and can't be created by mixing other colors. The three primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. And then you've got secondary colors, and secondary colors are created when you equal parts of two primary colors on the color wheel. And on the color wheel, these colors are directly between each of the primary colors that are mixed to create them. So for example, the secondary color for blue and red is purple, and the secondary color for yellow and red is orange, and the secondary color for blue and yellow is green. So green, orange, and purple are your secondary colors. And then you've got the tertiary colors, and tertiary colors are created by mixing different primary and secondary colors. These colors are located between the primary and the secondary colors that are used to create them. So in total, there are 6 tertiary colors. You've got red and orange to create vermilion, and then you've got red and purple to create magenta. Then you've got blue and purple to create violet, you've got blue and green to create teal, and then you've got green and yellow to create chartreuse. And these are kind of all of the colors these are the tertiary colors essentially that are on the color wheel. So you've got the primary, you've got the tertiary, and you've got the secondary colors. Next thing you want to think about in the color wheel is color harmonies. So color harmony is defined as the property that distinct aesthetically pleasing color groups have. It is created by selecting colors that work well together and complement each other. There are many different techniques that can be used to pick out harmonious colors. So one technique is complementary colors. So complementary colors are 2 colors that are opposite of each other on the color wheel. So for example, yellow and purple would be considered complementary. They are the opposite 2 on the color wheel. Then you've got green and red, also would be a type of complementary colors, as they are directly opposite on the color wheel as well. Then you've got split complementary. So this technique is a variation of complementary colors. So for example, chartreuse and magenta is one complementary color. And then you have basically one complementary color and then one base color and then 2 colors that are adjacent to the complementary color as well. Then you've got a dyad, which is 2 colors that are separated by 1 color in between them. So for example, green and yellow are a dyad, they've got 1 color between them. Then you've got triad, and that's 3 colors that are spaced equally from each other on the color wheel. So green, yellow, and orange are a triad because they are 3 colors, and then there's an equal amount of colors in between them. Then you've got analogous, and these are essentially 3 colors that are directly next to each other on the color wheel. So violet, purple, and magenta, amber, orange, and vermilion are analogous colors, and they can be worked well together as well. And then you've got a rectangle. This is essentially tetradic. And these are essentially 2 sets of complementary colors equaling 4 colors in total. So again, complementary colors are 2 colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So 2 sets of them will essentially make a rectangle. So you've got the yellow and purple maybe as one set, and then you can also have teal and vermilion as one set as well. And then you've got square. So these is essentially 4 colors that are all equally spaced out from each other on the color wheel. So something like green, orange, to magenta, violet, purple, things like that. Why color theory is important has to do with psychology. So each color can be used to convey different meanings and provoke different emotions. While some of this can be subjective and change from person to person, there are some common color portrayals and examples as well. So for example, white can signal sort of purity and clean and things like that. If you think about the Apple website, they use a lot of white, almost as negative space on their website, but the design is very minimal, very clean, and organized as well. So that's an example sort of how the different color can be used that way. Then you got Audi as well. Again, their base color would be white. It leads for a very clean design as well, almost professional, things like that. Another color that has a strong meaning is red. So red can symbolize things like power, passion, life, health, things like that. So Coca-Cola, for example, red is a very iconic color for them, and it can it's used a lot on their website, especially the very first thing that you notice is a lot of red, and it signals sort of a lot of passion and power as well, and it's kind of an iconic color for them as well. Purple is another color that has a strong meaning. One of the meanings that's associated with purple is luxury, royalty, decadence, things like that. If you think about brands that use that, Cadbury is one of the first ones that come to mind. They use a lot of purple, not only on their website, but within their packaging, within their branding, within their flyers, things like that. And it signals to the user this is a very kind of like luxury product. It's a very decadent product as well, and that works with their product, it works with their branding, and it's a really kind of strong way to, and using that color, it's a really strong way to kind of portray that kind of message as well about their product as well. Balancing your colors on their website is important, so knowing which colors will promote the right emotion and identity for your brand is a really huge part of choosing the right color scheme. And it's something that as a web designer, you should know sort of when to use what kind of colors. Web designers work with colors, but they will kind of break them down into three main categories. You've got your main colors, your pop colors, and your neutral colors. When it comes to your main colors, this is kind of what will be used for maybe 75% of your website design. You will use this on colors on every page of your website for content, headers, and maybe general information. It can also be used as a background color as well. It basically will be the kind of main color for your canvas of your website as well. Then you've got something called pop colors, and designers will use this kind of sparingly throughout your website. Pop colors are used to highlight almost important information only, and also things like call to actions. So for example, you've got call to actions on this page as well, and on the footer, and you've got call to actions on the home page. There's a call to action on the nav bar. You've got the button here. Using the green only in sparing places means that it's highlighted a lot better. This green, the main call to action in the nav bar pops out, then call to actions to explore other parts of the website pops out as well. You've got call to actions on the services section on the home page, and that kind of pops out so that users kind of instinctively kind of click on those for more information as well. So using these colors sparingly and using them in the right place are something that designers will focus on to make sure people are staying on your site, they're exploring you on your site, and ultimately you doing the action that you want them to do, whether that's to get in touch, make a booking, make a purchase, things like that. And then you've got the third category, which is neutral colors. So neutral colors are also used sparingly, but more often than pop colors. These colors are used for backgrounds, negative or empty space, and within your content. And it's just another way to kind of separate out the content, balance all the colors on screen, and make it easy for users to navigate. So all of that kind of falls into user navigation as well, and user experience. And web designers will help you kind of choose the correct color scheme for your website. You need to take account of all the information that kind of we've talked about. So essentially, what type of feeling, emotion do you want your website to convey? Do you want to use primary, secondary, or tertiary colors? For example, if you own a yoga studio that focuses on mental wellness and strength, designers may opt to choose go for a slightly green color way, because that might be a perfect starter color to look at it. Green can bring feelings of nature, well-being, energy, and it can be perfect for inspiring customers to try yoga and things like that. Your designer will also decide on how many colors would be good to work with, and they'll look at the color harmony techniques, and they'll be able to narrow it down from there. Then based on your main color, you and your designer can use similar colors with analogous technique, or completely opposite colors by using complementary colors technique and things like that. The best tip for any color theory beginner is to keep your color scheme simple and incorporate it into your branding. So color theory is a really important skill that your web designer or your web should be incorporating. And lastly, one of the most important skills that a web designer should know about and should be skilled in is responsive design. So responsive design focuses on the technical aspects of a website. So having knowledge of responsive design ensures that CSS, JavaScript, or HTML work seamlessly and add to the user experience in spaces like text, buttons, or even menus. By honing your skill set here, you'll ensure that your website delivers consistent content across any device, translates to different devices like mobile without there being issues with the design, and creating strong layouts as well. One way to test and see what your site will look like on mobile without actually having the device is if you go into the Inspect Element tool, and you can see sort of different devices as well. and you can sort of see the layout and make sure the padding and spacing is okay on all of them, and everything looks sort of as easy to navigate on mobile as it would be on desktop. Usually on mobile design, everything tends to stack, so everything goes on one top of each other instead of side to side, and you just want to make sure that that continues and that it looks good as well across your website as well. Another more accurate way to kind of test the responsiveness of your website is using a tool called BrowserStack. So BrowserStack is a cloud web and mobile testing platform that provides you and developers with the ability to test your website on different mobile applications, but also across different browsers, different operating system, as well as real mobile devices as well. BrowserStack can help you test your websites on over 2,500 real devices and browsers, so you can thoroughly test how it looks not only on different devices but also on different browsers, different operating systems as well, so you can really test out any issues, test out your site on any kind of platform really, and see if there's any issues as well. BrowserStack do have a free trial, but it is a paid platform as well. So it is an investment, but it is something that worth considering as well. More and more we are seeing people access websites mainly through mobile, so it's really important that your website is responsive as much as possible across a number of different devices and not just on desktop devices as well. Website design and designers is one of the services we have here at ProfileTree, and we have skill designers here to kind of help you with your website design, make sure it's optimized for everything as well. Making sure that when you are designing a website or when you are hiring a web designer, understanding that your business can improve in so many ways, for example by attracting new customers, showcasing your product or service in the best possible way, develop an online community. It can help you basically in so many ways as well. So making sure that you, by hiring a web designer, or if you're a web designer yourself, you know that how much of a big impact designing a good website will do. Website design services can offer things like new website design, landing page design, additional features added, technical SEO, on-page SEO, website auditing, things like that. So when you are hiring a website designer, maybe think about other things that you can, other services that may offer as well. And if you're a web designer yourself, if you're able to sort of offer these things as well, you can really hone in your skills as a web designer yourself. To find out more about the approach to having a website designed, contact our web development solutions team for more information, or check out the rest of the videos in our channel. We have loads of videos providing courses and training and sessions for clients, so you can learn the basics of web design for different types of websites. Please get in touch today and see how we can help.